Man, I love nights like this. You get out and do something to get you warm, and you know, just get the, I don't know if you can see the steam coming off my head, but just get rocking, enjoy the calm night, snow gently falling. Out here in the middle of nowhere, we're dead center of the property, so there's no noise other than my generator, and just enjoy being out here by myself. It's great. Well, all right, so it is time to work on a simple project I've been wanting to do for a very long time. It's an upgrade to this work light that I used to use constantly, but it's been around the block once or twice, and we want to add some new tech to it. So stick around, I'll show you what we're doing. All right, so we want to bring this into the pit of despair here and see what we can do. So I've literally had this work light for 20 years. I bought it at Lowe's when I built this place. And I built this place 20 years ago and we lived in it. And of course it didn't look like it does now. But it's been a great work light. It's one of those halogen lights. So it put out a ton of light, but the downside was it put out a ton of heat. And my goodness, you know, depending on what we were doing, you get stuff that would drip down on it. I was doing drywall and I was doing spray foam insulation in a walk-in freezer. You get down on there and you'd smell it and it just, you think it's going to set the world on fire. And of course you end up backing into it with short sleeves on, and you know, takes a layer of flesh off of there pretty quickly. And of course those halogen lights, they burn out all the time. It seems like change in temperature, a little drip of water, anything like that, just makes those things pop like crazy. So we go through those all the time. So I reached out to the good folks at Sansi, who do LED lights, and if you're not familiar with that, if you're not familiar with what we've done on the channel, then the lights that I'm standing under are Sansi LEDs. The floodlight that I have on the front of the workshop is a Sansi LED. The motion light that I have back where the tractors park is a Sansi LED. So I've really been happy with those. Some of those are going on 2 years old and have just been flawless. They work really well. So I reached out to Sansi and said, hey, what do you guys got? Super bright compact floods with mounts on them so I can swap out these halogens. And they had just the thing. So they sent me two of these. Sent me two of these guys, and you can see they have their own power cord with a switch and mounts. And these turkeys are extremely bright, man. I'll tell you, they will light you up. And of course, they still get warm, but they don't get fry an egg hot like those halogen lights do. So anxious to swap that out, have brighter light, cleaner light, and not have to deal with all the heat. So let's see what it's going to take to swap these. All right, well, I decided to take the whole thing apart. I came up here to the house. I'm in the house garage now, obviously not in the workshop. And get it all cleaned. It was just covered in a lot of barn dust and everything. Took everything apart, even cleaned the electrical cord, everything, all I could do to get it clean as possible. Still has some spray foam insulation, some of those things on it, but should be good to go. So now ready to just put it together and wire it up. That's another reason being up here in the garage. This is where I have most of my electrical tools. I decided to keep the existing knobs, tensioning knobs that came with the light versus the hardware that came with Sansi, simply because the ability to loosen this, then of course you can twist it around and point them any direction you want, or you do 180 degrees even if you want. So it will allow me to still maintain that functionality there. So that was the easy part, of course, just screwing them on. The hard part now is going to be getting them all wired up. That way we don't have to go around and plug each individual piece in. We want it to come through this centralized junction box that was part of the existing light stand. So the old lights had this switch mounted to the back of it that was weatherproof, just a push button switch. Of course, the thing had been knocked over multiple times and broken. You can see where it's busted out of the hardware. And it had just a very short pigtail. So if I wanted to turn this light 180 degrees or 270 degrees, then it actually got a little tight. The new lights have a much longer cord, of course, because they're not made for this application. So it's about 24 inches till you get to this nice weatherproof switch, and then maybe another 14 inches to the plug. I wish this switch was a little further back, that way I could have it closer. And I'm debating whether or not to cut it and move it further back, 2 splices versus 1 splice. But we'll see. I may just wire tie it for now and see if I like that better. Well, before we start cutting wires, probably should plug them in now to make sure they work. That way there's no issue I'm trying to troubleshoot that I think's mine on down the road. So we'll do a quick plug in here to some power. Hot light. And light number 2. Hot light. All right, so those work. So if they don't work going forward, then it's my fault. It pains me to some degree to cut a plug off something brand new, but that's all part of it, I guess. So how many of y'all have had this tool forever? I think this one is probably, oh my goodness, probably 30 years old, because we had a lot of these tools back in college when my brother and I had a car customizing shop. We did car stereos, car alarms, all that kind of stuff in the mid-90s. And so these things were always around, but good tool you never get rid of. Although I'm not going to cut it with that. Kelly would think this needs to go in the garbage can, but that's obviously not correct. This needs to go in a drawer somewhere where it'll sit for another 30 years, and when I die and somebody cleans out all my junk, they're like, why did that dude keep an old cut off of a plug? Notice the older I get, the smaller and blurrier these wires get. Alright, so let's see what we got. Let's turn it around so everybody can see my success or failure. Let there be light! Oh! Looks like a semi coming right at the camera, doesn't it? All right, so that worked well. I'm gonna zip tie these down a little bit so I can still have some slack, but not have these cords hanging all over the place. And then I'm gonna show you why I'm even working on this and why I need this here on the Homestead. Okay, so this time of year, it's kind of like film noir, isn't it? I feel like Alfred Hitchcock here. I should do a good evening. No, actually, so this time of year, obviously it gets dark so early, and having my day job, you know, my business that keeps me active during the day, it's kind of a drag to want to go out and do stuff, and it gets dark. Finally putting together this work light allows me to come out. You can just see the amount of light that this is casting. We're all the way up at the retreat, so nowhere near any power, so that's why I got the generator running. And we're casting enough light that I could safely work back here. We're gonna, you can see this old ash log right here. He's got a pretty good smiley face to him, so instead of going on the mill, we're gonna cut him up for firewood. I brought the trailer, so I'm gonna cut and split, toss in the trailer, and take to the house. The good thing about ash, as we've talked about in previous videos, is it can go straight to the rack and straight into the fire. It doesn't need to cure out. It's the crazy thing about ash. I've burned it for years that way. Cut it down, take it straight, and it's good to go. So man, you can see the light that this is putting out. This is really great. This makes working in the dark much easier. I can even see running the mill with this. In fact, it'd be awesome. I may have to talk to Sansi about getting 2 more and put a post on the other side of the mill. That way I can have stereo lights and of course kill the shadows. If I stayed on the spot, obviously I cast a pretty big shadow. But really happy with the brightness of those lights. And I don't know if you heard the generator rev up just a little bit. I have it on economy mode, and it revved up just a little bit. It's still not even full throttle. If that was those halogen lights, that thing would be singing right now. So really excited about that. Well, I'm going to split some firewood. I know some of you guys may be saying, hey, why don't you have a log splitter? I thought you said you don't burn a lot of firewood. Well, we really don't. Natural gas is so cheap here, it doesn't make sense to go through all the effort to split wood. But I like to have some as a backup just in case. And Kelly likes ambiance. And to be honest with you, my doctor told me I need to have my heart rate over 140 beats per minute, at least 20 to 30 minutes a day, 4 to 5 days a week. So I've got my Apple Watch on here and got a heart rate monitor. I'm going to see where it is just in splitting wood, see if it's better than jogging and you know, that type of traditional exercise. So I'll share the results once I get all this busted up. pretty good trailer load of firewood. I may have been a little over ambitious because the ground's not frozen yet and you can't see it, but there's a hill. There's a hill I got to pull right there that without being frozen, I may be spinning. See if this Honda can do it. If not, I may leave the trailer and have to come back and get it tomorrow with the tractor. It's not supposed to get above freezing tomorrow. Alright, so for those of you that even remotely care, my heart rate is still, right now, 148 beats per minute. And I'm 51 minutes into doing this. Now, there are times that I've obviously stopped and set up the camera, but it looks like out of those 51 minutes, 96% were in my ideal zone, which the ideal zone is the orange and the red. I know you guys are probably, this probably doesn't mean squat to you, or you don't even care. It's interesting to see because my doctor asked me, hey, what do you do for exercise? Do you run? Do you swim? Do you cycle? And I'm like, no, I have a farm. He's like, well, you probably need to do some exercise. And I do. You can tell by looking at me that I probably need to lose some weight. But it is kind of funny when you look at how much energy is expended when you walk or jog or do any type of aerobic type stuff. It's pretty good. You get your heart rate up there and you go for 10, 20, 30 minutes. Something like this where I don't really give it a second thought. I spent 51 minutes out here cutting all this stuff up, splitting it, and think, yeah, that's a pretty good workout, but I would never equate it to the most intense workout I'm supposed to have according to my doctor. So, interesting. All right, well, whew, definitely worked up a sweat. Man, I love nights like this. You get out and do something to get you warm. Nice and cold. It's probably, I think when I left the house it was about 22 degrees. And just get the, I don't know if you can see the steam coming off my head, but just get rocking, enjoy the calm night, snow gently falling. Out here in the middle of nowhere, we're dead center of the property, so there's no noise other than my generator. And just enjoy being out here by myself. It's great. I hope you're as impressed with those Sansi lights as I am. Again, that's, video's kind of been all over the place, but that's something I've been wanting to do for a while, and really allows me to do more work in the dark. And the beauty of that is I can turn those off and toss them right in the side-by-side. I don't have to wait for them to cool off because they don't get that hot. They still get warm, but they don't get that hot as those halogens do. I'll post some information down below if you're interested in them or any other products. Like I said, I've got quite a few other products still working great. All right, well, you guys take care.